Well, hey, this is Barry Nicholson. Welcome back to the Music Money Podcast. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about my story and how I make money with music. So, I want to tell you how I currently make money with music. I'm going to give you a little bit of my backstory. Now, before I start, I want to remind you that this podcast is not about me. It's not going to be me coaching you on how to make money with your music. It's about the music industry in general and how people are either making money part time or full time in the music industry. By listening to me and others that I interview on this podcast, I'm hoping that you'll get ideas to help you make more money with your music. So let me just give you a little background on myself. So, going way back when I started, I was born and raised in Southern Indiana, a place called Evansville, Indiana, and I got my first serious band when I was 15 years old, and it was a Christian rock band called After the Fall, and we were together for 6 years. It was all through my high school years and early college, and for me, it was a fantastic experience. I learned so much just being I play bass. And even when I joined the band at the time, I knew I could sing, but I'd never performed in front of anybody, at least not in a band. And then they found out I could sing. They made me the lead singer. And then, as time went on, I found out that I could actually write songs, pretty good songs. It seemed, at least we'd learn them, and then the crowd actually liked them, and we'd play them more and more. And being 15, 16, 17 years old, this was a really great experience for me, and it really made me think to myself, this is what I want to do with my life. So when I was about 21 years old, I was actually married, or I was engaged to my high school sweetheart, and we just decided it'd be a great idea for us to drop out of college, and we moved off to Dallas, Texas. When the band broke up, we did have a lot of member problems and stuff with the band, and that time, which happens, certainly still happens to this day. So that band broke up, and we saw our opportunity actually to follow some people that were part of that band back to their hometown of Dallas, Texas. And so that's what we did. We were 21. My bride was 20 years old. It was about a month after we got married. We made the move to Dallas, Texas. So when I got there, this was in the early 90s. And if you're unaware, some of the older folks, they'll know that in the early 90s, that was when the grunge scene was blowing up. Grunge, of course, bands like Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, everything was going crazy in Seattle at the time. And so there were, and the cool thing about that situation was those were American bands that now this was a big scene that was happening. And so things were getting really interesting in the music world at the time. And so here I was in Dallas, Texas. My main objective was just to get with a great band. As soon as I was probably the first thing that I did when I got there was, at the time you read the newspaper. This was before the internet. And so you would actually go to like these newspapers, and you'd, thumb through the back, and you'd look for the classifieds and look for bands that were looking for bass players. And so I ended up getting with an all original band that was playing kind of like an alternative metal kind of music. We called ourselves the Judas Engine. And we had a female singer. We were real heavy. We were it was kind of like Soundgarden meets Jane's Addiction, something, I don't know. But we were very serious about it. We ended up rehearsing 3 nights a week in a garage that had no air conditioning, but it was a place where we could rehearse. It was actually the drummer's parents. They were the most patient people in the world. So once we, of course, we started off with originals right out of the gate. We had no interest in playing covers. This is all about, we thought we were going to be rock stars. And so we needed to start writing some songs, developing our sound and our look, all that kind of thing. And then, we recorded some demos, or our first demo. And then we went out and started handing out tapes, cassette tapes at the time, trying to get gigs. And so there was a place in Dallas called Deep Ellum. And that's where all the bands played. There had thousands of people. It was like 3 city blocks, and it had thousands and thousands of people that would, just gather every Friday, Saturday night. And, it was a scene. So every band wanted to play down there that was doing originals. There were bands that were getting record deals out of there. There was a band called the Toadies. Maybe you heard of them. They had a song that's still on the radio to this day called Possum Kingdom. They had just started getting their record deal at that time. There were other bands that were taken off, and you would have like 4 or 5 bands on the bill in a single night. So, if you got a gig, of course, you were hoping that you would get a better slot than the first slot starting around 9 o'clock when nobody was at the club, because people didn't even start showing up until like 11 o'clock. And then by midnight, that was some of the best slots. And so you would just kind of have to do your time and pay your dues to work your way up to midnight, hoping that you would open for a popular band and some of their crowd would see you. But nobody got paid. I mean, but you just have to, it was called throw and go. They had like a PA system up there, and you'd bring your amps and your guitars and stuff. And as soon as the other band got off stage, man, you'd run up and you'd throw your amps in front of the microphones and do your thing. And just, you had like 20 minutes to start your set, and you had 45 minutes to play. And that was it. So, we did that for a couple years, and, we went through a few band members, and then we finally started gaining some traction, and, we started writing better songs. We started developing a better sound, a more unique sound, and it started resonating with people. And we started gaining a following. We had a lot of the same people that were showing up, and then they'd bring their friends. And, we had kind of these, we called them the Dungeons and Dragons guys. They were kind of like these guys that all of a sudden it was a whole crew of them. And they were kind of these nerdy guys that went out and played sword fights and stuff in the parks. And, but they were really into our band. And so they started showing up in droves, and it was really cool. Well, then we got the shocking news that our singer needed to move to Los Angeles, because we actually had a female singer. She was married, and she was married to a guy that actually worked for a record label. He worked for a few different record labels during the period that we were around him, and he was always trying to kind of move up the corporate ladder, and he finally did. He was the regional producer, like promotional guy, and he got to move to Los Angeles to go work for a major label. So we thought, well, we're just going to move the whole band to Los Angeles. And, but I'm actually getting a little ahead of myself. So I'll get back to the LA story. But before that, so we had made a few demos, and then finally we cobbled all our credit cards together and decided it would be a great idea to release a full-length CD, or it was like 8 or 10 songs. I don't remember. And of course it was, cost a fortune to record, and, and have the graphics made and all this kind of stuff. And we made this CD, and, of course, I think when the band ended, we literally just had boxes of these things just sitting around. But we got picked up by an indie label that was based out of Dallas called Rainmaker Records. And they had some success with an independent band that was on their label called Deep Blue Something. You may recognize that name. They had a hit song called Breakfast at Tiffany's. You can still kind of hear it every now and then. I'll be in an elevator somewhere and I literally will hear Breakfast at Tiffany's. Good little pop song. Anyway, so they had some popularity with them. I think that maybe they sold their contract to a major deal, and they got some money. So, I think the owner of that label kind of was trying to get in good with our singer's husband. So he kind of did us a favor by, quote unquote, signing us. I never actually saw a contract. I don't know anything what actually happened, but Rainmaker Records never really did much anything for us. They did get one song played for us on a college radio station, like in Illinois somewhere. And because I remember I got a royalty check for a couple bucks, like literally like $2 from BMI at the time. But that was just how the game was played, and you would try to get labels, you try to get major labels to show up to your shows. You would send them packages. You would try to get a music attorney to like shop your record for you to the labels. That was just what was going on at the time. So anyway, so like I mentioned earlier, we ended up moving to Los Angeles, which of course my wife absolutely did not want to do. And looking back on it, I can absolutely see why she didn't want to. But I wouldn't hear anything else, because I'd already put 2.5 years or whatever of my life into the band at that point. And so we moved the whole band there, and it was just brutal because we had to start over. We're absolutely nobody at the time. That's when I remember there was few bands that were just hitting it out of LA. One of them was No Doubt. Another was System of a Down, Deftones. These were the Offspring, I believe. They were just now kind of taking off out of that LA scene. And so but we were just one of 1,000 bands that came into there and were coming in from Dallas. Nobody knew who we were. And we did get a pretty cool opportunity to um, record a 3-song demo. We won some kind of contest or something. I don't know. We got to do a 3-song demo at Capitol Records in one of their studios in the basement. It's what that building that looks like a big stack of records on Hollywood Boulevard. So that was really cool. And we had a really cool demo of these new songs that we had, started getting some traction with. But by that time, the band, we were just running up against a brick wall just in general. So about 8 months into our tenure there, and after like moving everything to Los Angeles, we had a big personal blow up in the band that I won't go into, and the band broke up. So the thing about that entire experience with life at that time, just that whole band experience with the band from Dallas, was when it all ended, all of us felt like we had failed. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I felt like I had failed. It was my whole objective to move to Texas, to get with the band, to get a record deal. And I got with this band that I thought was great. And I was writing the songs. I was actually writing all the music. The drummer was writing the lyrics, and we had this great female lead singer. She was a great singer. She was attractive. We had like this whole look. And, but we felt like at the end of it all, we failed. And because we felt like we failed because we never got a record deal. And that was sort of the mindset in the 90s. And I'm sure before that, the 80s and even the 70s and the 60s before that, with most bands that never got an actual record deal, they probably felt like, well, I never got discovered, if you will. So what happened after that? Well, life happened after that. So I ended up moving back to Indiana. I ended up, with my wife, we managed to, actually, we split up for a while after the whole thing. I mean, the thing almost destroyed my marriage, but thankfully it didn't. We ended up getting back together, and then we moved back to Indiana. Eventually, we ended up having kids, and I played in some cover bands, got a real job, quote unquote. I actually always had real jobs, or at least I actually worked 40 hours a week while I was trying to do the band thing. And so years go by, and I played in some cover bands every now and then just to make a little side money, that kind of thing. But I did really just didn't do much with music after that. I eventually ended up moving to Florida in 2008, and about 5 years after that, I actually played in a wedding band and stuff when I got to Florida. I'm getting older. I'm getting into my 40s, and in 2013, I decided to start the band that I have now. It's called Reverend Barry and the Funk. So in 2013, I ended up forming the band that I have now, which is called Reverend Barry and the Funk. And I'll tell you how that all happened, but it was 17 years after that, my last fully original band, that band in Texas and LA, after they broke up. The music industry had changed in a huge way. So if you think about those times, 1996, back when I was doing all that stuff in LA and all that, that was the beginning of the internet. I mean, we had America Online. Um, it was a big deal to have like 1 megabyte literally of memory, or I don't know, 100 megabytes. I can't remember, on your computer. And just so we didn't have the internet. All that stuff was just barely starting. So here we are, fast forwarding to 2021, or actually when I formed the band in 2013. And so, the bands don't even get record deals anymore. I mean, if you really think about it, when's the last time you heard about an actual band, like a rock band or an alternative band or whatever, get a deal with a major label, a major record label? It just doesn't happen. So, really major labels, they pretty much are only signing pop and hip hop acts right now. And the thing that's good about the market that we live in, or the world that we live in right now with music, is that with streaming, anyone can upload their music to Spotify or Apple Music or even YouTube, all these platforms for people to listen to music. All you need is like a DistroKid account or a TuneCore account. You can upload your music, boom, there it goes. It'll show up on Spotify or whatever, in a matter of days. And we have platforms like YouTube where people all over the world can go on there for free. They can watch your videos, your live videos, or your music videos, or whatever, that you can build a relationship with people. Um, but and you can do social media. You can actually you can advertise on social media, which has been huge for us, being able to find people that would be interested in our style of music. We can find them on social media through advertising, or through people that share it organically or whatever, and people can become fans. These are all good things, because the thing is, you can go direct to fans. Now, back when I was trying to get a record deal back in the old days, like I said, I felt like we failed at the end of our career, because I didn't have the validation of having a major label record deal. I never had a music attorney say, "Hey, this is great material. I want to shop this to a label." We never even had a manager, or even an agent. That nobody that really kind of believed in us. And so much of our, as musicians and artists, we feel like we need to have those people or those entities in our lives to validate us as artists, and to say, "Hey, you're really great. You have something really special. um, I think I can do something with this," or our company thinks we can do something with this. We can make you famous, right? That's what we tend to think. And still there's a lot of that type of thinking that still exists with the people that I see out there. But I just realize that now we are in a completely different world. You don't need validation from labels, from agents, or from music attorneys, or people like that. You can go to fans direct. Now, you do need validation from your fans. Otherwise, you don't really have fans, right? If people listen to your music and it doesn't really resonate with them, and you can't find somebody like that even likes your music, you probably need to go back and and work on your music a little bit. But assuming that you have good music that appeals, and it doesn't have to appeal to a huge audience. I mean, some of us, maybe you want to be somebody watching this podcast or listening to this. Maybe you want to be a megastar. Maybe you want to be the next Ariana Grande or somebody like that. Or maybe you just, you have like a kind of a weird sub niche of music that you make that only appeals to a very small audience. You have certain heroes that make music kind of like yours, and they have a small sub niche, and you would just be happy if you had what they had, if you will. So the good news is that you can go direct to fans. You can do that now. You couldn't do that back in the day. Now, the bad part about the world that we live in is there's so much competition. Like I mentioned on this or the previous podcast, there are 60,000 tracks that are being uploaded to Spotify every day. There's over 8 million creators on Spotify. And as we all know, we constantly see this flood of social media posts and TikToks and all these kinds of things. Everybody wants to be an artist, right? And not just that. And then you've got shows like The Voice and American Idol and all that kind of stuff going on as well. All this noise of people that want to be stars, that want to make music, and that want you to listen to their music. And we have the world of, even the people that we're trying to appeal to are now distracted in more ways than we ever had back in the 80s and the 90s. We have video games, like really cool video games. We have social media. People are just distracted by the social media channels that they're on, and there's a gazillion cable channels. There's Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff, and Amazon, and there's all these things that are competing for people's attention. YouTube, there's there's a million videos uploaded to YouTube every single day. So you're also competing with that. Again, stuff that we didn't have to compete with back in those days. So, and like I've mentioned before, as an artist, the good news is that you can go direct to fans. But if you want to succeed at doing that, you're going to have to do the work of a label and make very little money doing it, unless you have ways of getting money coming in from multiple different channels. So in this podcast, again, I'm going to make it my goal to find out who is making money out there, how they're doing it, and just give you ideas on how to do it. Now, this episode's gone on a little longer than I had originally planned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and with the next episode, I'm going to tell you about the band that I have currently, what we're doing, how we make money. We do make money. We do pretty well. Now, I am not an expert in every form of marketing. There are some things that I feel like I do really well, and I'll share those with you in the next episode. But thanks for watching. Until then, I'll see you next time. Well, hey, welcome back to episode number 3 of the Music Money Podcast. If you listen to my previous podcast, I remember I said that I was going to go ahead and go in depth as to what our band or what my band does to make money. My name is Barry Nicholson. My stage name is Reverend Barry. The name of my band is Reverend Barry and the Funk, and we're a Sarasota, Florida-based band. We're an 8-piece funk band with a 3-piece horn section. Our music is kind of similar to, we get compared a lot to Earth, Wind and Fire, Tower of Power, Sly and the Family Stone, just basically horn bands from the 70s typically. And those are big influences of ours. We actually played our first gig on Halloween of 2013. So we've been together for around 8 years. Now, we do play both originals and covers. When we started, we had no intention of playing originals. I didn't know what I was doing when I started the band. I wasn't even sure you could even make any money at all having 8 people in your band. But we started. We actually have been very popular in our area. We started out as a cover band, playing like covers of 70s funk, soul, disco, R&B, Motown, that kind of thing. And so we're a great band to dance to, and that's kind of how we gained a lot of popularity. But we started working on originals because I felt like I especially wanted to play a lot of funk, because that's really why I started the band as a bass player and a singer. I just really like to play funk bass, right? And I love bands with horn sections. And so over time, I felt like we kind of learned every popular funk song. There's really not that many of them, actually. And so I thought, well, I can either start playing some obscure funk songs that I love, but a lot of people won't know, or I can start writing originals. And, from my previous songwriting experience, I felt like I had a pretty good handle on what that I could write songs. So started doing that, working with another guy in the band who was a great songwriter. And, so we recorded our first album. It was pretty well received. So now we're an original band. And, but we also are doing covers. We're working originals into our sets. We're playing pretty much every Friday, Saturday night. And we've done that for about 8 years now. So since then, we do have, like I said, we've got one full length album. We've got one a 5-song EP, and we're currently working on our next full length album. And just so, again, full disclosure, I do this part-time on nights and weekends. I spend a heck of a lot of time doing it, certainly, but this is not my full-time job. I do have a full-time job. I work in marketing, and I've worked in marketing for over 15 years. So that's a little bit about me. Again, you can look the band up. It's called Reverend Barry and the Funk. I'll certainly refer to it a lot in the future. But so I just wanted to give you a rundown on how our band makes money. So number one, of course, would be playing live gigs. We currently are playing nightclubs and tiki bars. At the time of this recording, we're still kind of in the pandemic, even though we are in Florida. Florida, thankfully, has been an early adopter with opening up. As far as like from the pandemic, and because we have a lot of outdoor venues, people feel safer from the pandemic outdoors. So we play a lot of nightclubs, we play a lot of tiki bars. Now, during non-COVID times, we would definitely get booked for a lot of corporate gigs, like charity fundraisers, weddings, things like that. We don't really market ourselves as a wedding band, but it's good money. And if people see us and want to book us for their wedding, we'll do it, and we'll make good money doing it. Now, we were starting to play a lot of fairs and festivals around the state that were booked by municipalities, like city and county governments. So you'd have like seafood festivals, wine festivals, Friday Night Live, basically free shows that these cities, they have a budget set aside to hire entertainment. And they usually do it downtown. They have a big stage they build up, and they have a band play. People can come down and watch it for free. We actually played a New Year's event like that a couple of years ago. Thousands of people there. It's a lot of fun. And that's one great way to make money. In fact, we got those gigs through the fair, and there's a Fair and Festivals Association here in Florida. There's a few of them. We did a showcase for them, and so that's a tip for you, that if you do have a band that's maybe somewhat similar, you have a cover band or even one that also plays originals. There are fair and festival associations in your state. Because what I learned through that is that most of the fairs and festivals that you see, at least in Florida, are not private companies that do fairs and festivals. It's usually the cities and the counties and the municipalities that put those on. And so they make their decisions on what entertainment to book a lot of times by going to these shows. They're kind of like conventions for fairs and festivals. And if you can get one of those showcases, I mean, we had to pay to be part of it, but I can't remember what it was. It wasn't very much. We haven't had to be we had to pay to even be considered to be part of the showcase, but we did get like the main showcase, got a tons of bookings out of it. So that was great for us. But of course, those have all kind of went by the wayside since COVID happened, but they will come back. Now, before COVID, we also had plans to possibly do a tribute act. The idea is that we could practically tour out of state. The tribute bands, in case you're unaware, you see a lot of bands that are doing like Eagles tribute bands, Fleetwood Mac tributes, and that kind of thing. They do a theater circuit. There's big money in that. Those bands, I think, on average, probably get paid around $15,000, and then some of them way more. Can be considered a little cheesy. My only reason I wanted to get involved with it is I thought we might be able to work our originals into it, and then possibly even do fully original dates. Like when we weren't playing the theaters, doing the tribute thing. Anyway, but we had plans to pursue that. We were getting pretty serious about it, and then COVID hit, and then everything. So it remains to be seen whether we're going to pursue that. Now, as far as live gigs go, we really want to focus our energies on getting into legit music festivals. There's a lot of funk festivals, blues fests, those kinds of things that happen all around the country, actually all around the world. And there are bands that are similar to ours that are doing those kinds of shows, and I want to be on those stages. So, and really, I feel like we are, after playing together for 8 years plus, every week, 2-3 times a week, we do live shows. We're a great live band. We're very tight. And really it's our superpower is we put on a great live show. And I feel like we really need to exploit that. So anyway, so another way that we make money, which is pretty unique, is that we sell a lot of CDs on Facebook. Now, the technique, I will go into in depth on how I do it in a future episode. But it's a technique that I learned from a guy named Chris Greenwood. He's also known as, he's an artist by the name of Manifest. Maybe you've seen his ads. He's kind of one of these music marketing guru guys. I bought his course. I'm still, full disclosure, I'm not an affiliate or anything. I still actually subscribe to his course, and I subscribe to other people's courses. I've learned a lot from him. I've learned a lot from some of the other folks out there, either paid or for free. So basically the idea, I sell probably anywhere from a low of 5 to sometimes as many as 20 CDs every day on Facebook. And the way that I do it is I run an ad on Facebook, and I advertise that you can get. It's called a free plus shipping funnel, or free plus shipping offers, the way that marketers refer to it as. The way that it works is that basically the ad says, hey, you can get this CD for free, just pay for shipping and handling. And then they go to the website, which is basically, it's a ClickFunnels page. If you've ever heard of ClickFunnels, ClickFunnels is a really difficult software to use. More about that in the future. But so the shipping and handling is $7.97. And basically what that does is that covers our postage. It covers the cost of the CD and the packaging. And it also helps cover the cost of the advertising. And, but, now if we were only selling the CD for $7.97, we would be losing money. So what we do is it has another couple what are called upsells. That's where you're immediately asking them, hey, do you want fries with that? Basically, where they can buy our other CD for full price. And you'd be surprised at the number of people that take us up on the full offer. So we make around $20, between 15 and $20 when somebody takes us up on that. And the difference helps us actually make money with this. And so we can just have the ad running continually. I've had it running off and on during the election. I had to turn it off because things went crazy. But we've sold 5,000 CDs for around $55,000 in sales. And I still literally have the same exact ad running. Now I've had it running for months. I don't change it at all. I don't change the budget. I don't do anything. I spend $50 a day on advertising, and it just keeps cranking out CDs every day. So, but what the most important thing with this has helped us gain paying customers all over the US. And I have their email addresses. I have And with PayPal orders, I actually get their phone number too, so I could send them a text message. Now I'll do a separate podcast, or maybe not even a podcast. I may do like a screencast where I show you on screen how I do this, how I have the whole thing set up. It is pretty complex, especially if you've never done funnels before. But it does work. Certainly, it works for our band. I'm not sure. You may be listening to this going, our crowd would never, my audience would never buy CDs. That's not, they're not into that. I do think that the age of the people that buy our music certainly plays a factor. However, keep in mind that Chris Greenwood, the guy that the guru coach guy that taught me this technique, he's a lot younger than me, and his music appeals to more like a Linkin Park type of audience. And he sells thousands of CDs using this exact same method. So I think people want the CDs. Some people certainly because they actually still have CD players. Some people just want it, and then they get the digital downloads too, just because it's kind of like a souvenir. It's better than not getting anything physical at all. People sometimes just want to get something physical shipped to them. Okay, so other way that we make money, which is pretty unique, is we do ticketed events, basically ticketed concerts, if you will. So, like I said, we started as a dance band playing all covers, got pretty successful pretty quickly. And so we were hired to do like New Year's events. And after a while, I started looking at the promoters that were doing these events. And I was like, I'm a marketing guy. I can do this. I've got a great band. The people are coming for my band. I could just like rent the venues myself and, do these shows. Well, I found out that it was actually a lot harder than that. Of course, crowd control and all that stuff is a nightmare. But nevertheless, we figured out a way to make it work. So we did like our own New Year's shows. We've done our own Halloween shows. We've done other special theme. We've gotten together with like a burlesque troupe. We've done some really cool stuff. So doing that, I developed an email list of people that have bought tickets to our shows. We've got around 4,000 of those buyers. So before the pandemic, we started doing monthly ticketed events, just like we had a venue that we worked something out with, basically to where they just have this large venue. It's actually a country western venue, but it's really big, and they got a big stage. They don't normally have bands like ours. And I came in and made them an offer they couldn't refuse. Of like, look, you don't have to pay us. I'll just sell tickets direct to our crowd. We just need a place to play. And it worked out great. So we were doing $3,000 to $5,000 a show in ticket sales, and doing that every month. In fact, we did our CD release party right before the pandemic started, and we had I think we did like 5,500 in sales. It was great until it wasn't. And then actually that enabled us after the pandemic, when things started opening up again in Florida back in the summer, we were able to go to our list, and we started actually partnering with promoters and with sound companies to do social distancing concerts. You maybe have seen those where you do like the little pod things in front of the stage. That was a major pain to do that. But we hadn't played for 6 months. And so we're like, we got to do something to make some money here. And we had some success with that as well. So having that list of ticket buyers has been huge for us. It enables us to basically kind of, promote our own shows and make real money doing it. But that's certainly, we still play a lot of, local nightclubs or regional nightclubs and stuff like that, tiki bars, places like that, where we don't make anywhere near that much money. But, so we have to do that. But anyway, other ways that we make money, of course, we sell merch at our shows, but we also do print on demand. We use printful.com. We've got it all set up on our website. Somebody places an order, t-shirt ships out of Mexico or something, and we make on average around $7 in profit. And the other cool thing about it, having a good sized email list, is that especially like during the pandemic, when we weren't making any money at all, and I had literally a garage full of t-shirts and coffee mugs and all that kind of stuff that I needed to move so I could get some money to pay some bills. I did kind of like a pandemic sale basically, and sold, like $400 or $500 worth of t-shirts, and was able to generate some money from that dead inventory. But I really like the print on demand model because I don't have to do anything. I mean, it's literally, and you can design stuff. If you haven't checked it out, I'd encourage you to do it. Go to printful.com. And they've got all sorts of stuff. They've got beanies and hoodies and trucker hats. I saw somebody want to order one of those yesterday. And you can put your logo, you can put any design on there you want. And they've even got these cool looking, like, it looks like somebody's actually wearing the t-shirt, a mock-up. And the shirts don't actually exist until somebody actually buys one. So it's pretty cool. So we've also made money doing live streams. Back when the pandemic happened, we did a few actually ticketed live stream events when, so many artists and bands were going on Facebook and just like live streaming for free and asking for tips. We did ticketed events, because I thought, well, I can sell tickets to my live shows. Nobody can see live music right now. Maybe they'll pay to watch us online now we did a higher quality live stream event. We have like multiple cameras and all this kind of stuff, put a lot of work into it. And we sold around $1,000 in tickets for our first one. So that was pretty cool. Um, and those were to the people that had bought our CDs from around the country, not just the local people. We did have some locals that watched it, but it was really cool because of the CDs that we've been selling around the country using those Facebook ads. It's a lot of those people really want to see us live. And so when we did the live stream and made it kind of personal, we'd actually talk to the people and all that. We were able to sell tickets to the show. We sold it like $15 a piece. We've also made money doing, before I forget, we actually did a live stream show at a professional soundstage studio up in Tampa back in December. And that was kind of a special circumstance. A company that was doing this, they had these incredible cameras, incredible sound. Everything they did was just like total top notch. And the recording sounded and looked amazing. So we were able to take that and make it into a CD DVD set again, because our people, the people that buy CDs, a lot of them also buy DVDs. Again, I don't even have a DVD player anymore, but again, I think they want that souvenir. Of course, they get the digital version too. They can log in, they can watch the live stream footage of that really great concert that we did. And so I've been able to create a product out of that. Now I use for the first time an actual print on demand service for the CDs and the DVDs. I don't actually have that in inventory. Now I do with our regular CDs that we sell on Facebook. I've got a garage full of them, but with the ones with the live CD, I didn't know how it would sell. I didn't want to buy a bunch of inventory. So I'm using a service called Kunaki. That's KUNAKI.com. And they've just got a thing on there. You put your music up or your videos up for your CDs or DVDs. People order it, they ship it. Costs me about $5.20. I want out the door. That's total, and I sell it for 15. So I make the difference. So around $9. Not bad. Okay, so another way that we've made money has been through endorsements. Before the pandemic, we got sponsorship by a regional attorney who actually specializes in motorcycle insurance. And so she does sponsors a lot of large events, biker events, kind of that kind of thing. And the cool thing is she would come in with like a pretty fat check to pay for us to play at a certain venue. She'd work the deal out with the venue basically. But we got paid, so working those endorsements, there are endorsement deals out there that you can get, which sometimes are just like local or regional businesses like this. Of course, there have been bands that have gotten deals with big liquor companies or beer companies. There's stuff out there like that. We've pursued that, haven't landed anything like that yet, but we definitely have had some success with the kind of the regional thing. We've also gotten string and endorsement with equipment companies. The string endorsement I love because I spent a lot of money on strings. Now they're not paying us, and they're certainly not giving us the strings for free, but we are getting a pretty significant discount, which all adds up. So just kind of break it down, kind of what our results are with our marketing, and just with the money that we made, the band business that we have. Currently, the band does around $13,000 to $15,000 a month in revenue. Now, revenue is not profit, of course. I have a lot of expenses. I have a crew to pay. We don't set up or tear down our own equipment. That's a choice that I made because we play a lot and I want to have people do that for us. We have a sound guy, we have a manager. We have an attorney. I have to pay him a lot of money. We have a rehearsal space. We have equipment that I'm still paying off. Now the band does provide a pretty steady part-time income for me, certainly, but it's like I said, it's not my full-time day job. But most importantly for me, it gives me a creative outlet. It gives me a way to have a really great tight band, something I'm very proud of. And I'm a band guy. I like that big sound. That's why I've got 8 people. And it gives me a way to write my music, have my band perform my music, and have the people vibe with me. And we put on a great live shows. And of course, I'm thrilled when people send me messages about they got our CD, how much they love it, and how much they anticipate our new record and all that kind of thing. So, but this is not a full-time income for me. No. So for future episodes, I want to remind you that I am not an expert in all things marketing related for every aspect of the music industry. I will share success on the things that I do know. I know a lot about Facebook ads. I know a lot certainly about selling CDs. I know a lot about funnels. Maybe you heard that term thrown around. You don't really understand what it is and how it works. I know a lot about marketing funnels. And of course, doing email and text campaigns to sell more music or to sell tickets, and how to do, anything. It's certainly to running a successful band, a cover band that does originals or anything in between. I know a lot about that topic, so I'll certainly address those kind of things. But for the things where I don't know as much, I will spend a lot of time interviewing people who are experts, especially in things like Spotify, sync placements, social media channels like TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, touring. Our band hasn't toured, so we certainly are looking at that after the pandemic, because for now we have a lot of demand built up because of all the CDs we've sold. But I'll talk to artists that have been on the road, touring, doing that thing. And we'll talk to a lot of big, managers, agents, producers, music record labels, both independent and major labels. We'll talk to music attorneys, professional musicians, and much, much more. So maybe you're wondering, after all this, what's my real motivation with doing this podcast? Everybody has something to sell, right? So in case you're wondering, no, I'm not going to release a course. I am not a guru. I don't have a problem with gurus. I've actually learned a lot from the various courses that I've bought, and I continue to buy them. In fact, because as a marketing professional in my day gig, I've bought tons of courses, and that's how I've learned my marketing trade. Because I actually never went back to college. I don't have a marketing degree, but I do make a decent living as a marketing guy. But what we are going to do, my issue is to properly market this, really, or any other product, you need to use, there's so many software platforms that are out there. So for example, just for the live stream project that we did, it required using tons of different separate platforms for email, to send out text messages, to advertise the merch, to do the social media posts, to create the graphics. These are all separate applications. We're doing advertisements. We're doing drop shipping. We're selling the tickets. It's exhausting for me, and I actually do this for a living. So that's why my company is working on developing an all-in-one marketing platform for artists. It will be everything you need to market your music, your merch, doing tickets, and even selling more to your fans. There will be no need to log in anymore to hundreds of different platforms to do killer marketing campaigns. Everything will be built in. And, now, so that's my motivation for doing this. Yes, we are releasing what to me is going to be my dream music marketing software, because I spend my time constantly dealing with these different platforms, and I know the platform the way that I want to have it built. But it does take time to develop software. So stay tuned to this podcast, and I'll keep you updated on the progress of the software. And so for now, I just want to say thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you know when there's a new episode. Again, I'm Barry Nicholson. I'm signing out. I'll see you soon.